All right, this is for your quiz, tomorrow? 11-2, 11-3. Most important thing about these 4 questions is that it's specifically talking about a circle. So whenever you see the word circle, you have a formula for that area. So can anybody tell me the formula for area of a circle? Good. Area equals pi r squared. Again, you have to evaluate these. All you're doing is plugging in what they're giving you. There are a couple questions here where some of you see that says the word diameter. Okay, we should know what a diameter is. If I drew a circle, what's my diameter?
The whole thing.
It goes all the way across, and what's my radius? My diameter goes all the way across, and radius goes what? Halfway only. Okay, so if they're asking for the diameter and the radius, either you're dividing by 2 or you're multiplying by 2. Okay, so understand the difference. So looking at number 1, it says the area of a circle with a radius of 6.8. So for this one, they are giving me my radius. All I have to do is plug it in. So plugging in what I have, I'm taking pi times 6.8 squared. Okay, please make sure you're putting it in parentheses. You're squaring the 6.8. So if you have your calculator, you could just click pi, open parentheses, 6.8, close parentheses squared, and then just click enter. If you plugged it in correctly, if you solved it correctly, what should we get as our answer? Okay, round to the nearest hundredth. 0.27, good, feet squared. And that would be your answer. So this one is not too challenging, just a matter of plugging in. All right, looking at the next one. For the next one, they're giving me diameter. Okay, so for this one, it wants me to use the diameter. So in my formula, area equals pi r squared. Are we using the diameter? No, so what should I do with the diameter? Good, so I'm going to do 19.2 divided by 2 is going to give me my radius. And what's my radius going to be? 9.6. Good, 9.6 equals my radius. And then all I have to do for this one is plug it in. Pi times 9.6 squared, same thing as we did before. If you plugged it in your calculator correctly, what should your answer be? 9.53. Perfect. What is it? Centimeters squared. So nothing too challenging yet. All right, now this one says the radius of a circle. Okay, radius of a circle with the area that is 1,017.9 square meters. So now they're giving me my area. They're saying your area is 10, let me not use a highlighter, 1017.9. And I'm writing it as equals pi r squared. I'm trying to solve for my radius. So looking at this one, how do I get my r by itself? What do I have to do first?
Divide by pi.
Good, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by pi. And this is the point where if you have your calculator, this is when you should be using it. We are not leaving it in terms of pi. So on your calculator, you're going to do 1017.9 divided by, the pi button is in the first column, I think 4 down. Okay, so it's the first column of your calculator, and then it's 4 buttons down. Click the pi button and then click enter. If you plugged it in correctly, you should have had 324.01 equals radius squared. And then how do I get rid of that squared?
Square root it.
Good, I'm going to square root it. And same thing, plug that into your calculator. Second squared, you're still using that second button. 324.01. And then that's going to give you your answer for your radius, which is 18 meters. Perfect. And then number 4, we're still doing the same steps, except we're not finding our radius, we're finding our diameter. So what would I have to do at the end?
Divide by 2.
Not divide by 2. Remember, radius is halfway, diameter is all the way across. Good, so I'd have to either add it twice or multiply it by 2. So same process. So same thing as we did before, they're giving me my area, which is 707 equals pi r squared. Divide both sides by pi. If you divided correctly, you should have had 225.05 equals radius squared. Square root it. And then your radius equals 15, but they're not asking for a radius, they're asking for diameter. So I'm going to take 15 times 2, and my diameter equals 30 inches. God bless you. All right, questions on the first 4. All right, let's go ahead and do sector, the area of the sectors. There's a formula for this. Does anybody remember it? Good, the measure of the arc. I'm sorry, go ahead. 360. Perfect, pi r squared. Okay, this is what I'm going to be using for these. And looking at number 7, what's the measure of the arc? So actually, before let's read the directions. In exercise 7 through 10, find the area of the sectors formed by JLK. So I'm finding right here in yellow. And what's the measure of the arc here? Good, because it's a central angle, my arc is also going to be 50. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in using the rule, using the formula. We have 50 over 360 times pi. Are they giving me my radius?
Yes.
What is it?
7.
7, and I'm squaring that 7. So because they both end in a 0, make it smaller numbers. I'm going to cancel out those zeros. Now I have 5 over 36 times pi times what's 7 squared?
49.
Good, 49 over 1. I'm going to squish it together. 5 pi 49 over 36. Looking at this, 5 pi 49, what operation is that? All of that's multiplication. Okay, so on your calculator, yes, multiply all of it. What am I multiplying? I'm multiplying 5 times pi times 47.
Wait, why 47?
I'm sorry, 49. Thank you. So if you multiply all that correctly, remember we're rounding to the nearest hundredth. You're going to get 769.69. And then you're dividing that by 36. If you divide it correctly, what should your answer be? 21.38. Good, 21.38 feet squared. Yes, questions?
Why are we multiplying with the pi?
Because I'm trying to get that top number because everything's multiplied. Pi times your radius. And we figured out our radius squared was 49. And it's the arc times the pi and the 49. So everything there is multiplication. Yes?
I got a 21.55. Does that still work?
I would double check it. Maybe you didn't round to the nearest hundredth. Also, if you're not using the symbol pi on your calculator and you're just plugging in 3.14, you're going to get the rounding off. So on the calculator, because it has the pi button, you have to use that pi button because it gives you a more accurate answer. So please do not put 3.14 on your calculator when you're multiplying. Use the pi symbol. All right, let's go ahead to number 9. We're doing the same thing as we did before. We're finding the measure of the arc, which is still 140 because it's a central angle. So I'm going to do 140 over 360 times pi, what's my radius? 1 squared. So I'm going to kind of skip some steps here, but we know anything times 1 is itself. So first I'm going to look at it. I'm going to say they both end in a 0, so I'm going to cancel these 2 zeros out. Then I'm going to have 14 over 36 times what's 1 squared? And what's pi times 1? So I'm going to keep it as pi over 1. Okay, squishing it together, I'm going to have 14 pi over 36. And same thing we did before, plug it into the calculator. 14 pi, and then click enter. Once you get it, what do you get?
43.98.
Good, 43.98 is what you're going to get if you plugged it in. Once this color decides to click, we'll just use it in yellow. So I'm going to get now 43.98 divided by 36. And if you divide it correctly, what is your answer?
1.22.
Good, 1.22 meters squared.
Miss Chung,
Yes.
is it okay for when we're at the 14 over 36? I simplified that and I still have the same answer. Like, I
Yes,
simplified
that's
there.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah, but because you have the calculator, I don't think you really need to simplify. But it's up to you if you want to use a smaller number. That's perfectly fine. All right, number 12. They want you to find the total area. So they're actually giving you the area of your light gray part. So if you're looking at it, this section in blue, they're already giving me the area. So now I have to find the area of my sector. Okay, I have to find the green area right here. And we're still going to be using the same area of a sector rule. Okay, the same formula. So looking at it, I'm going to take my arc, which is 40 because that's a central angle. And I'm plugging it in, same as we did before. Except at the end, I'm going to add the areas because they want the total amount. So I'm going to take 40 over 360 times pi. For this question, you do not know the radius, but I will give you the radius because this one you kind of have to solve backwards and it's going to take a while. So the radius for this is 2. So pi times your radius squared. So for those of you who did this one, if you got 2 as your radius, you did it correctly.
Wait, how do you get the radius?
So I will give it to you because it's a lot of work.
Okay.
But for those of you who would like to know, I don't want to get you confused. But what you would have to do is your area, which is 11.17, equals the arc. So in order to find the arc, you need to subtract it by 360. So that would be what? 320 over 360 times pi r squared, and then you're solving for r. That's how you would find the radius for this. So you're kind of working backwards like we did at the previous questions before working backwards to solve for radius. But this would take you a little more because you have that fraction right there. So your radius is 2. And then you're just solving it like normal, how we've been doing for the past few questions. These are going to cancel out. You're going to get 4 over 32 times pi times 4.
32.
I'm sorry, 36. Thank you. 4 pi times 4. Plug that into your calculator. If you plugged it in correctly, you should have had, what, 50.27 divided by 36. And then if you solved it correctly, that green piece is going to be 1.4. So this right here is 1.4, but they're asking you for the total. So lastly, 1.4 plus 11.17. That's going to give you your answer. The area of this shape equals 12.57 meters squared. Questions on 11.2.
Can you leave that up there just one more second?
Yeah. All right, 11.3, the last section. The hardest questions are the ones at the bottom. And I'm going to tell you which ones to take out, and then we're going to do a different example that's not on here. So it says, find the area of the kite or rhombus. So there was a rule for this one, the area for kite and rhombus. Do we remember what it was? Area equals d1 times d2 divided by 2. And all that is you're taking your height, or whichever one your base, you could always change that with your height. And then you're multiplying them and dividing them by 2. So when you're looking at this, looking at number 2, what two numbers am I multiplying? Does it matter which one goes first? No, for multiplication, it doesn't matter if my 9 goes first or my 12 goes first. So I'm going to write it as 9 times 12 divided by 2. And again, you guys will have your calculators. You're going to get 108 divided by 2. You could just plug it in and get the answer without solving it this way. But just solving in steps so you could see the steps. Your answer is going to be 54 units squared. Units squared. And then looking at number 3, what's the measurement for my base, for my horizontal line?
18.
Okay, it's not 16. You have to add it. Yes, please don't forget that. You're going to get 18 times what?
14.
Good. 7 and 7 make 14. And then you're dividing it by 2. So same thing as before, multiply across, or you could just plug it into the calculator. 252 divided by 2. If you multiply correctly, divide it correctly, you're going to get 126 units squared. So make sure you guys are checking your work. I know these seem easy and you will have a calculator, but just make sure you're plugging it in correctly. All right, next questions. These say find the measure of the central angle of the regular polygon with a given number of sides. Round your answer to the nearest tenth of a digit if necessary. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a digit. So looking at this central angle, how do I find my central angle?
Divide 360 by the number of sides.
Perfect. So you're going to do 360 divided by number of sides. And they're giving us the sides to find. So looking at number 5, how would I solve for 9 sides? How would I solve this?
360 divided by 9.
Good. 360 divided by 9. And what would my answer be if I solved it? Perfect. My answer would be 40 degrees per angle. Okay, all you're doing is 360 divided by number of sides. So looking at number 7, how would I solve this?
360.
Good. Good. 360. You're going to have to wait until I'm done. Divided by 20 equals what?
18.
Good. My answer would be 18 degrees. All right, looking at the next one, 9 and 11. It says find the given angle measure of the regular hexagon. So now we're finding the measure using the shape that's given. So the measure of angle CGD. So let me go ahead. CGD. What is this angle considered? Good. This is a central angle. And we should know how to find a central angle. How do I find a central angle?
360 divided by
Good. 360 divided by the number of sides. And how many sides are there in a hexagon?
6.
6. Perfect. And if you divide it correctly, 60 degrees is my answer. All right, looking at the next question, it says find the measure of angle HCG. So right here in blue, looking at it, I have a right triangle. Please understand what I'm doing right now. I'm going to trace this triangle. This is the one I'm using in red, and I'm going to draw it right here. This is a right angle. How much would this angle be in purple?
30.
Good. This is 30 because this entire angle here was 60, and I'm only taking half. So then what would this angle in blue be?
60.
Good, it's a 30, 60, 90 triangle. So this measure right here is nope, not 60 degrees. Is this, did we say, yep, nope, I was right. It's 60 degrees. 60 degrees. Okay, I drew it over here just so you can see it. I only did half the triangle. I did a little right angle. All right, 13 is probably the hardest question. Okay, these will probably be the hardest questions on your quiz. I'll probably only give you one question of this. Everything else, you'll see at least one of the other questions. So it says, find the area of the regular polygon. Okay, formula for area of a polygon. We did area of a circle. We did sector area. Now this is for a polygon. Does anybody remember it?
A equals half, 1/2, and then apothem times perimeter.
Good. So I normally do apothem times perimeter divided by 2. Okay, but yes, if you do 1/2 times apothem times perimeter, that works. Okay, just to clarify, perimeter equals the number of sides times your side length. Okay, N stands for number of sides, and S stands for side length. Okay, so if they're not giving me my side length, I have to solve for my side length. So that's the hardest part. Once you get the side length, everything else just goes into the formula and you plug it in. So looking at 13, let's just label information that we know. Do we know what our apothem is? Good, so I'm going to write up here, my lowercase a equals 3. Now I have to find my perimeter. Okay, finding my perimeter. I'm using my rule for special right triangles. So looking at this, first thing I want to find is my central angle. So I'm going to draw another radius. What would my central angle be right here? How would I find that? How do we find it?
360 divided by 6.
360 divided by 6, we knew it's 60. So this angle is 60 degrees. Remember now, for me to find my perimeter, I have to find the side length. But I can't use this triangle. I have to use a right triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this triangle right here in blue because it is a right triangle. And I'm solving for that bottom piece. So I'm going to draw it as best as I can right here. Here's my right angle. What would my measure be up top? 30, and at the bottom? 60. This is a special right triangle. So I'm going to have A, 2A, A radical 3. And I know some sides. What's my hypotenuse equal? Good, and what does my side equal? 3. Which one would you want to use to solve for A?
3.5.
Good, I would want to use the 3.5 because I really don't want to use a radical. How would I solve for A? What was it? Divided by 2. Okay, 3.5 divided by 2. That's how I'm getting my A. That's how I'm solving for A. So if you have your calculators, go ahead and do 3.5 divided by 2, and what would you get?
1.75.
Good, A equals 1.75. So this side's going to equal 1.75. This side's also going to equal 1.75. What would the entire side equal? What is it? No. 3.5. Okay, so because I found a side length, I am solving for my perimeter right now. How would I solve my perimeter?
Multiply 6 times 3.5.
Good, 6 times 3.5, and what would you get for your perimeter?
21.
Perfect. Okay, I found my perimeter. Now I'm solving for my area. All I have to do is plug it into the formula. Area equals, what's my apothem?
3.
Good, I'm going to do 3 times.
21.
Good, and then
Divided by 6.
divide it by 2. So go ahead, you're going to get, yes, 63 divided by 2. And what does your area equal?
31.5.
Perfect.
You're only gonna put one question in this, right?
Yes, I'll only give you one. This will not be multiple choice, it'll all be free response.
And then you're gonna grade for like both getting the area and the perimeter, right?
Yeah, so it'll be 2 answers. So even if it's 8, you'll probably have like 9 answers. I'll probably throw in an extra one somewhere, just to make it 10. So, questions, comments, concerns? All right, last question that we're gonna do. Just as a practice, it's going to be, you have a square with a diagonal line. That's 10. So when we're looking at this, draw your square. Visually draw your square so you could see it. Here's your diagonal, it's 10 units. What is my radius going to be?
5.
Good, 5 and 5.
10 divided by 2.
Good, 10 divided by 2. Now I have to find my central angle. How would I find my central angle here?
Isn't it just 10? Oh no. 10.
360 divided by 4 would be 90 degrees. Now remember, I have to try and find my perimeter. That's the first thing I want to find. So I have to find that side length. And I also have to find my apothem. Okay, so remember, area equals apothem times perimeter divided by 2. In order for me to find that perimeter, I'm going to use this right triangle right here. So I'm going to go ahead and redraw it. Here's my right angle. If this angle right here was 90, what's half of 90? Okay, so this is 45. And what should the... Good, this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So now you have to remember the rule for special right triangles. You have A radical 2. Do I know any measures of these sides? What's my hypotenuse? It's 5. How would I solve for my A? Okay, I have 5 equals A radical 2. How do I get that A by itself?
Divide it by radical 2.
Good, you have a calculator, go ahead and divide it. 5 divided by radical 2. Your A is going to equal, it's going to be a decimal, 3.54. So if this equals 3.54, this also equals 3.54. So do I know what my apothem is? Look at it. Do I know what my apothem is? Yes. What is it? Good. 3.54. And this piece in purple is also 3.54, which means this is also 3.54. So it's 3.54 plus 3.54. 7.08, good. So let me just label what I have because it's a lot of information. I have my apothem. I have my apothem, which is 3.54. I'm going to go ahead and find my perimeter. How am I finding that perimeter?
7.08 times 4.
Times 4. Multiply it. Good, 28.32. And now that I have all my information, I can go ahead and solve for my area. So I'm going to take my apothem, 3.54, times 28.32 divided by 2. Go ahead and plug that into your calculator. If you solved it correctly, what should your answer be? Rounded to the nearest tenth. So that's 2 digits after the decimal. All right, 50 point what? 2, I need 2 digits. 100th is 2 digits. 50.13 units squared, and that is it. Questions, comments, concerns. This is all you need to know for your quiz. Say it one more time. Yes, questions like 13, and the last one we did will be on the quiz. You'll get at least one of those. Watch the YouTube for 11.3 because there are more examples. This one is actually on there. This one was from 11.3 notes. So this one's on there, but there are more examples. Okay, any more questions? Quiz tomorrow, please study.